Hello everyone, welcome to an exciting interview with Dan. I'm an individual who has left an incredible mark us and other storyteller and communicator. I am Ayan Fiverrwala, interviewer who is currently learning Rehan School Korangi campus under the guidance of RehanAllahwala. My ambition to become a fiber expert. Today, I am fortunate to having opportunity to talk to Dan about her incredible journey, uh, and thank you for joining me, Dan.
Thank you for having me.
So, first of all, Dan, please introduce yourself for my viewers.
My name is Dan Armstrong. I live in Pennsylvania, state of Pennsylvania in the United States, and I am an author, and also I do have a part-time job to help make enough money to live, like all of us.
Wonderful, Dan. My first question is on your screen. My first question is, what's your book, The Adventures of a Real Life Cable Guy about?
When I was 20 years old, I applied for a job as a cable guy and fell in love with the job because you got to meet new people every day. You got to walk in their homes, you got to talk to different people. And over time, when you meet that many people, you start seeing some really strange things, funny things, sad things. So I started to write about it. And this is the book, The Adventures of a Real Life Cable Guy. So they're short stories about just all kinds of people that I met, and this book is in I believe it's 9 or 8 or 9 different countries, and almost all the states in America have bought a book. So it did pretty well. It went all over the globe.
Okay, wonderful. And then my next question is, can you explain your, sorry, tell us about your latest book, The Conjurer of the Temple of Wisdom and Truth. What genre does it focus on?
Um, my latest book, The Chronicles of Elwick, that's this one right here. This one is kind of like magical realism. It's about a boy who finds a chest, and inside the chest is a map to the Temple of Wisdom and Truth. So he goes off on an adventure to find this, and he actually does find it and meets a sage, a very wise man in this Temple of Wisdom and Truth. It's like a castle. And the man teaches him morals and virtues. And then at the end of his stay, Magister, the sage, tells him he needs to go back to his village and build a tower as a school. And then in that school, people will come and they will learn of the virtues that Elwick learned at this magical place. So it was a lot of fun to write, and it was a bestseller in 7 categories on Amazon. And I am in the process of doing an audiobook of it, but I think that's going to take a little more time than I thought, because that's just how life goes. So thanks for asking.
Okay, wonderful answer. My next question is on your screen. What inspired you to become a writer?
Well, I was born with a cleft palate, and I could not speak very well. In fact, I didn't speak much until I was 5 or 6 years old. Um, Even then, I was very conscious of how I sounded. And because of that, I voracious reader. I love to read books, and I started a library when I was young of just different books that I liked. So, in order to communicate, it was easier for me to write things. I do remember as a kid, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, writing little short stories. I wish I had them. I wish I knew what I did with them. But I remember writing these short stories. And over time, I think it was just a better way for me to communicate my ideas was to put my thoughts on paper and get them out of my head on paper. I still don't think I communicate best speaking, but I think writing I do. And I actually talk about being born with a cleft palate in this book. This was a #1 bestseller on Amazon, and there's my face right there. Um, I talk about being born with a cleft palate and learning how to write, and so I was asked to write a chapter in this book, and that tells the story a little bit more in detail. But that's what inspired me to be a writer. Uh, a tragedy in my life became a triumph.
Okay, wonderful answer. My next question is on your screen. How do you balance your time between writing, speaking, and other activities?
I think it comes down to discipline, where you really need to set aside time in your day to do what you really want to do. If you're working full time, I mean, I've had jobs where I've worked 10, 12 hours a day. And when I wrote this book, I was working probably 10, 11 hours a day. So it was something I had to do at night, usually about 8 o'clock at night to about 10 o'clock. That's when I would write. There are times when I would get up in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, and get an idea in my head, and I had to write it or type it. So I think it comes down to, if it's something that you want to do, like writing especially, you have to say to yourself, where can I carve out the time and make this happen? You can't find time, you have to make it. So it becomes a discipline. This book right here, this took I spent 3 hours every night from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night writing until this was done. And this book I wrote. This came out in 2021. Um, this took 4 years. 4 years of an hour a day, half an hour, sometimes 2 hours a day, researching, writing, rewriting, and changing the ideas around. So it's a discipline. The answer to your question is discipline.
Okay, wonderful answer. My next question is on your screen. Can you share a memorable moment from your time as a lead singer in Damascus?
Yeah, the funniest one I have is I was the comic on the stage. I was the main speaker in the band, and they introduced us, and I ran out on the stage, and we did our first song, and then we stopped, and I started talking, and these people were laughing at my jokes, and I thought I was doing a great job, and suddenly I heard someone from the audience yell out, "Your zipper is down! Your zipper is down!" And I looked down, and I was so embarrassed I had to pull my zipper up in front of 1,000 people. But that was one of the funniest moments for me. That I was funny, but they were actually laughing at my appearance and not at my jokes. So that's just one.
Yeah, wonderful answer. My next question is how do you approach research for your books?
How do I study for them? Okay. Anything you want to write about, you
Can
have to
you?
read about. And
I
what was
am
the question?
saying, how do you approach research for your books?
How do I can't. It's kind of fuzzy. I missed your question. Oh,
I think your net is zero.
yeah, internet might be slow.
Your net is slow.
Maybe can you type the question?
My, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Yes.
My question is, how do you approach research for your books?
How do I set of my books? Can you ask it a different way? It's maybe it's just the here we go. How do you approach? Oh, yes. Well, okay. Well, I started to say that when you have a subject, you have to if whatever you want to write about, you have to read about. So when you approach any subject in research, you want to take on other people's ideas, like smart dust. Okay, this is a real technology, smart dust. Okay, this is not made up. Um, so I had to study where did it come from, how does it work, and what would happen if it was used in nefarious purposes. So that's what this book is about. And how I approach research is I will read something and then sit back and relax and think about how I can communicate that from my own viewpoint, from my own perspective. I hope that answers the question. Um, it's going to be different for everyone, that's for sure.
Yeah, wonderful answer. My next question is on your screen. Uh,
Hmm.
what advice will you give to inspiring authors?
I would say start. Don't don't think you have to be the best. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just write the way you should write, and the more you do it, the better you become. The more you practice, the better you will become. Now, if you practice badly, you will get worse. So you have to take advice from people who have done it before. You can find all kinds of resources on the internet, how to become a better writer. But always remember, when you learn how to become a better writer, be main you in your writing style. Don't think you have to change the way you communicate. Yes, there's ways to write, but don't change your personality in your writing. So always be Ayan, always be Dan, always be Rehan, always be who you are when you write and get started.
Oh, wonderful answer. My next question is how do you stay creative and motivated in your writing process?
That's a great question, Ayan. I think how you stay creative is I'll tell you what, I spend a lot of quiet time just thinking about an idea. Sometimes you have to go take a nap and meditate on the idea. I've had dreams where I've in my dream I got an idea that was creative. Um, the other thing is when I hear that people enjoy my book or love what I wrote, that's really inspiring to me. That really builds up my confidence. When I look on Amazon and I see a review, it just makes me feel great. I want to do it again. I want to give people what they want. and I want to hear positive feedback. It's not always easy, but it's part of that discipline of doing something you love. You have your channel, and the more you work on your channel, the more you'll get better and better and better. And that's just how life is. No one gets somewhere in 3 years that took someone else 30 years. It just takes time to get better at your craft. So that's a great question. I think I lost you, my friend. I'm still alive. Technology's great until it doesn't work. Well, I don't know what's going on, but I'll tell you, one of the greatest things about being a writer is you get to express your ideas the way you want to, and you're if you do it enough, your audience will appreciate that you're giving them content and that you are inviting them into your world to share ideas that maybe they never thought of. And you can be a great inspiration to other people that have gone through bad things. So it looks like you're coming back online. I can keep talking. I can do that even though I'm a better writer. Uh, the other thing about writing is it's an expressive art.
Then can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry for I am going. My
Yes.
internet's wrong. Okay. Okay, wonderful. My next question is: can you please tell us about your experience teaching English and Japan in Japan? How?
And teaching English in Japan. So many years ago, a friend of mine was going back to Japan. He had spent 30 years there, and he wanted someone to go with him. And so I went with him. It was a church function, and he said, "Well, what can you offer?" And I said, "Well, I can do magic. I do street magic. Um, see if I have something I can do a trick with real quick." And so when we got over there, we went to a place called Takamatsu University, and I. Oh wait a minute, no, it was in Takamatsu. But anyway, they asked me to teach a class to high school students for about 20 minutes. So I did, and then I went to the university as well. We did that. So I went back 7 more times. So I made my trips to Japan 8 times in my life. Each time I would spend about 10 to 12 days there, and I just absolutely love the Japanese culture, especially the food and the people. So yeah, that was a great experience in my life to be part of the Japanese culture. So I hope that answered the question. I lost you there for a little bit, and I just kept talking. Um, something else that if you ever visit another country, I think it's important to the language, even if it's just hello, how are you, where is the store, you know, different phrases that will show your hosts that you care about their culture. I think it's important to learn about the culture before you travel anywhere. So, because you are a guest in their country, and if you're careless about that, it could come across as rude, obnoxious. So, as you travel in any country, be aware that you might stand out, you might look different. So people may look at you and you have to be ready for that in a way where maybe in America it would be different. We have all kinds of cultures in America. We have people from all over the world in America. So it's normal for us to see people wearing different clothing, styles, haircuts, and we really don't give it a second thought. When I was in Japan, uh, I got looked at quite a bit, like, what's this guy doing here? Because of my skin color, I'm lighter. I had no hair, or if I had hair, it was not as black as the Japanese people. So I stood out, and people knew I was an American or Canadian. So when you're in other countries, be aware they might look at you funny. In America, not so much. So that's my advice when traveling. Great surround. It's like you're coming.
So we got the internet disconnection.
Dan, sorry for the
There you are.
internet connection. Dan, can you hear me?
Yes. Say something else about writing.
Can you
It's
hear me?
you write, and more people know. Ask them. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, gotcha.
Thank you, Dan, for sharing your insights and experience with us today. Your journey is truly inspiring, and I am sure our audience, has gained a valuable knowledge from your conversation. Wishing you continued success in all your endeavors. Thank you so much, Dan. Bye.